What's up, guys? Quick video here to answer a really important question that someone asked me in a PM the other day in regards to fat loss and protein. And the question is, what happens when I eat protein and why is that important for fat loss? And there are a couple of reasons why protein is important, but just a quick little overview of protein, what it does and how it works first. So protein is the compound in your food that's primarily driving muscles in regards to things such as laying down new muscle tissue. So as an example, you go to the gym, you lift weights, you break the muscles down. You actually don't build muscle in the gym, and then you need a certain amount of calories and a lot of protein and of course carbs and things like that as well to make sure that the body actually repairs itself, and you give your body a reason to change, so to speak. And in this instance, that's more muscle tissue. A couple of other things that's important to remember as well is that protein serves a lot of different roles in the body other than, just muscle. Think of your nails and your skin, your hair, and all of that stuff as well is a part of what we call structural proteins. And another thing that we have to remember, which is often forgotten, is that protein serves a lot of important roles in the body in terms of enzymes. Enzymes are the kind of things that make things happen in the human body, such as, utilizing certain vitamins and minerals to make reactions happen and so on and so forth. So that's a very easy kind of laid back way of looking at it, but protein serves so many different things in the body other than muscle growth. Of course, muscle growth is the thing that people worry about, right? But we do also have to acknowledge and consider all the other elements of protein and why that is important. So then people ask, well, why is protein important for fat loss? Well, protein is important primarily because it prevents you from losing muscle mass. That's the last thing we want, right? You don't want to diet down, try to lose body fat, and then end up losing muscle mass. That's going to happen to a certain extent anyway. You'll have a small amount of muscle being lost at any given point in time if you diet, at least very hard. What we have to consider after this is that when you have more muscle mass, you're also more likely to be able to move more. It's a very general characteristic, and we can tie protein into that link, okay? Another thing we need to remember is what we call the thermic effect of food, or dietary induced thermogenesis. Two really fancy words. All they really mean, guys, is that when you eat foods, you break them down, right? And then they go into your intestinal tract, and then they get absorbed into the bloodstream and your liver and other areas. And then it gets, sent out to where it needs to do its job. Now, for all of that stuff to happen, let's say that I was to eat a piece of steak, or for some reason I was to decide to eat this, peel of a mandarin here, it doesn't just show up into my intestinal tract like this. It goes into my stomach, then it gets mixed with, stomach acid and a lot of other things, and then it goes, from there. So what we have to consider is that process of me eating that and that going down into my body and that being broken up into small little bits of pieces of food, that costs something. And that, I suppose, currency is calories, right? It's not a free journey from your mouth down into your stomach, then right out your ass on the other end. It costs calories. And that calorie value, that cost of that passage, is more expensive for protein than what it is for carbs and fats. So as a result of that, when you eat more protein, your body will naturally expend more calories trying to break that down. Is that something that's going to, majorly determine how much body fat you lose and stuff like that? No, not really. But we want to consider that. And that's one of the reasons why people say that protein is really important when it comes to fat loss, right? But that's not the primary reason. The primary reason is that it prevents you from losing muscle mass. It's really that simple. And I think the last thing I want to touch on, which has been, it's a common myth, and people say that protein is more satiating than, carbs and fats, meaning that protein keeps you fuller for longer. That's not necessarily the true that's not necessarily true when we look at the research. When we look at the research, we see that there is very little difference between carbs, fats, and proteins. It's often the combination of those foods in different ratios that make you feel really satiated and full. You know, people don't eat just protein. Unless you're a gym bro and all you do is drink protein shakes and eat steak. Nothing wrong with eating steak, right? But you probably often have fat in that steak. You have some vegetables as some other carb sources as well, right? Then you have some condiments on top of that to make it taste good and things like that. And there's that combination. That's what makes you feel full. It's not each single macronutrient alone. And when it comes to satiety as well, we need to consider things like overall calorie levels, sleep levels, different perceptions and reward systems in the brain and how that works on, how we perceive the food and how full that perception actually makes us feel as well. So we can't just say that protein is, just superior when it comes to satiety, unless we only live on protein, which we don't do anyway. We eat foods, we don't eat macronutrients per se. We eat foods that contain those macros. So I think that's really all I wanted to share with you in terms of protein, but hopefully that debunks quite a few myths around protein and why that is important. Should you aim to have a lot of protein in your diet? Absolutely. I think especially when you are dieting, you should aim for the 2 gram per kilogram body weight every single day. You can go a bit lower. Some research says anywhere between 1.6 to 2.5. I think if you aim for the 2 gram, you're probably hitting a pretty decent amount of protein that's easily consumed for the majority of people. But other than that, there are so many other ways of looking at protein as well, guys. Palm sizes, as an example, for males, have 2 palm sizes of protein per meal, have 3-4 meals a day. Females, you can have 1. That's another way of looking at it as well. There are so many ways of looking at it, guys. We're not going to go into depth about that, but hopefully that gives you a bit of insight into protein, why it is important, and what you can do to make sure that you optimize that part of your diet. Any questions, guys? Pop them below or above, wherever it is, I think is below, and then I'll get back to you.